First of all, good afternoon all. Just a quick word of appreciation to the organization and of course to the sponsors, but also to George Altis for the opportunity of being here and of course Lux for making it happen, right? So I will touch some key areas where we are definitely in line with the strategy that has been presented so far. So quick word here. Synopsis Consulting was created in 2019. I'm the founder of the company. We are definitely driven by technology. We are focused in doing what we call business development, but also provide strategic and technical consultancy for two segments: the segment of the broadbands and the segment of video. Right. So our expertise today is pretty much focusing in three main areas, and the example that I will bring today in terms of digital transformation will touch exactly all of these three domains. So domain number one is better hardware for what we call the in-home connectivity. I will explain in detail what is the concept behind this. Unified software based on open source. This is an important message because we are not positioning ourselves as another company building a proprietary piece of software to provide the solution to companies. We are based definitely in open source. We consume a lot of the open source code available in the community. What we do with that is to understand the needs of the market and translate that into a platform or to a product or to a service. So it really depends how, what is the demand, the immediate demand, let's put things like that. Third point is the enablement of service orchestration. This is where we touch the digital transformation. So pretty much introducing the capability to monetize existing and future platforms. Today we will focus, and once again it's one example, but it can just be exposed to different areas or different technologies. We will give an example how we can bring monetization into what we call the consumer equipment. So for example, your in-home router, your in-home extender. So George today was talking about the connectivity and how is that important. So we are bringing that bridge in terms of additional services that you can run on top of those hardwares, because the hardware is there. It's just a question of monetizing and providing the right solutions to consumers. Let's put things like that. Once again, Ines, thank you for Lux. I think we joined Lux more or less 1 year ago. This is where we have been providing or enabling our network capabilities, where we actually have met very interesting people and also new partners. So Ines, once again, thanks for that opportunity. Just, to complement the initial presentation slides, what we are trying to position here with Synopsis Consulting is a handshake between operators. So some examples like Altis, Vodafone, NOS that are pretty much familiar to us, bringing together standard bodies. Once again, we don't want to reinvent the wheel. It's all about partnerships, and once again, linking again to the different presentations that were shared here. So standard bodies to this solution, bringing third-party services. Once again, we are not here to reinvent the wheel. There are plenty of partners out there with perfect platforms or solutions. We are just bringing those solutions together. On top of, and once again, another partnership of what we call device vendors, so the hardware, because those services, they need to run in a specific infrastructure. In this case, we are targeting, the in-home connectivity devices, the CPEs, as I just mentioned to you, and aggregated with this universal software. So that is our motivation, and this is exactly what we are doing currently in the industry. So touching a little bit the digital transformation, right? So what is digital transformation for us, and how we have made these two words into a specific platform, into a specific service, right? So in our eyes is the process of using digital technologies to create new or modify existing business processes, cultures, and customer experience. So this is very important, and I'm going to spend some time here because customer experience is in the core of our solutions, right? So it's all about how users use the in-home devices, how operators can monetize the infrastructure already available in the customer premises. So all of that will come into a final shape in the next slide, hopefully. Today we will present, as I mentioned to you, the success story of our minimum value platform. So we call it MVP. So, and pretty much we are addressing the consumer business, right? So we are addressing the CPEs or the routers or the gateways, as you want to call them. There are different names for the same thing. So pretty much what we are challenging is those devices that we have in our home. So every time we call, for example, Altice, sorry, George, I will bring Altice here, and they install, for example, fiber connectivity, right? They install a black box, right? For a user, that is the black box. What we are doing is making sure that black box enables a set of services, once again, that allows to monetize service providers, but also provide additional value to users, right? It's not just providing internet or voice services, it's much more. So we are bringing what we call this ecosystem of added value services. Once again, it's linked to specific partnerships we have. I will present 2 specific partnerships today, but this brings us into this scale that you see in the screen, right? So in one side, you have the market ecosystem driven by hardware, you know, futuristic hardware, maybe a global hardware. So I will explore these in the next slide. And on the other side of the scale, you have the services. Which services are important nowadays? You know, based on the market's analysis, probably you will agree with me that Wi-Fi, managed Wi-Fi is one of the most popular services, and it wasn't just because of COVID. You know, Wi-Fi has been with us almost, you know, since day one. Second area is cybersecurity, because today you spend probably more time at home, either by work or by, you know, just watching online content, and cybersecurity is becoming quite important. Not only how you access the content, but also how you make sure that your family is protected. You know, things like simple parental control are targeted inside this cyber security space. And the third element is, of course, associated into how we bring all of this together, all of this service orchestration, as we call it in the industry, together. So in one side, you have the market ecosystem driven by this hardware, which is the entry point. And then you have the services, which pretty much will bring this production platform and change the way people look into that black box into your living room, right? So we are changing customer experience focus. So quickly, I will not spend too much time on this. I want to go to the examples. The mission and approach are very simple. 3 vertical pillars that touch all the areas that were mentioned here today. First of all, the hardware. We want to make sure that working with our partners, we bring into production what we call, you know, a future art-proof hardware, because that is the basis where all the services will be running, right? So some key elements here in terms of diversity, of course, in terms of design, because that is important. Design is in the core of what we do every day, but also in terms of environments. So how do you produce that hardware, right? Are you using recycled material? How do you ship that device to the customer, right? So all of these enters into the concept of just hardware. It's not just the box, it's how you ship the box and all the experience unshipping or unfolding that carton box. Second element is, as I mentioned, the unified software solution. Once again, open source space. It's a big name, but you know, it's a terminology. Once again, we don't want to create and lock in our partners. It's an open source solution, and everyone has access to that, what we call source code in the industry terminology. And the third element is the uplift towards the service orchestration, right? So it's the monetization of all of these hardware, all of these software solution into uplifting it towards the customer experience. Today, I'm very proud to say, and even though the company is 2 years old, that this value proposition is available and ready. Once again, we didn't do it by ourselves. We brought partners together. We worked with partners, and we make this proposition happening. I will just explore an example, right? Hardware, right? How can you transform that hardware into something interesting? So currently we are actually working with the leading partner, so it's called Kaon Media, and it's a South Korea based company. It's what we call an OEM. Right now we are working in the concept of the universal gateway. So imagine the scenario where, once again, towards the customer, this is completely transparent. Customers don't really care if they have fiber, if they have other type of connectivity like cable, right? They just want the service. That's why they pay every month, right? But to the operators, how do they make this appealing, and how do they make something that is configurable and tailored to the needs of the customer? So that's why we brought this concept of universal gateway. It's pretty much a detachable module. So Wi-Fi, so what exactly is your needs? Do you need super hi-fi, high configuration, or a medium entry is okay? And what kind of access technology do you have? Does your network supports fiber? Does it support cable? So depending on this configuration and the answers we get, you get this universal gateway. Is a modular approach type of device that pretty much addresses the needs of operators, and of course once again tailored to the best customer experience. So this is currently in the design phase, but we are already working with what we call a tier 1 operator in Europe to make this product available. Second part is the software, and once again I want to present this, I call it a nice drawing, because it links once again the concept of this universal software with this universal hardware linked to the cloud services, right? So we are making the CPE or the device towards the cloud. So we are pretty much making sure that all the logic and all the smart elements are stated on the clouds, and that the hardware is just a basic piece of information linked to this software. Of course, we don't have time to explore of these. I think the main message I want to pass here today is that the solution exists, the hardware, the operating system, and the service ecosystem does exist. Last point is about the partnerships. Once again, we are not reinventing the wheel. We are touching different areas, different domains important to customer experience, like managed Wi-Fi, quality of service, cybersecurity, management, multicast. We are bringing all of those partners, which we have an agreement already with. It's a non-exclusive agreement, of course, but it's an agreement, and we are uplifting this concept of this service orchestration. So I think the last word I want to say here is, and the whole idea and the vision behind this is the same way you have your mobile device and you use your app store, the same way you have your smart TV at home and you install applications like Netflix, Amazon, with your CPE, you will be able to do exactly the same, right? You have your device at your home, it's already there, we're just finding a way to monetize what is already available, and you can just subscribe to services that are important to you, once again covering different domains of technology. And that's all I had. Thank you so much.